The three most important things that leaders can do during this challenging time, particularly during a pandemic like we're going through right now, is number one, to acknowledge emotions. So it's important to understand what each of your employees is going through personally during this challenging time. Some of them may have to be homeschooling kids, like I am, while working full time. Some of them may have elderly parents they're worried about, or maybe they have a spouse that's been laid off or is self employed. So, if you haven't done so already, I recommend connecting with each of your employees individually to understand and just ask them, how has this challenging time impacted you and your family? How are you coping with that? This will show the human side of leadership as well as for you to know how to support your employees going forward. So, the second is to create clarity. So it's always important to communicate as a leader. However, now more than ever, clear and frequent communication is important, especially in this virtual environment. So create structures that will help you to consistently engage with your team. For example, I recommend at least one virtual team meeting a week and then regular check-ins with each of your individual employees. I have a client that does a morning check-in where they create clarity on what are we going to focus on for the day, what are our actions, and at the end of the day, they come back and they review what progress did we make. Now that may seem like micromanaging or a lot, but during challenging times, you need to make sure you're having those connections with your employees. Another thing that leaders can do is to hold office hours, much like a professor does, where employees can have blocks of time where they know they can connect with you, either to get questions answered or just get help on a project. The third thing is caretaking the culture, and this is the people side of the business. This is so important because as leaders, sometimes we can get caught up in just managing tasks and projects, and maybe go a whole week when we're in a virtual environment without connecting with our staff. So caretaking the culture is making sure you're supporting, giving feedback and coaching your employees during this challenging time. Some ways that you can caretake the culture are, one, to do a short team building activity in the beginning of each of your virtual team meetings. One thing I've been doing with participants over the past few weeks is asking them to share one word to describe their state of mind. This is a great way to check the temperature of your staff and understand what kind of state of mind they're in right now. Another one is to ask for new or good. So what is something new or good that's happened over the past week? Even in challenging times, there's something that we can each probably bring to the table with that. For example, last week I shared with some of my participants that we taught 3 of our kids how to learn how to ride their bikes. We considered that a homeschool win. Another is to bring a question, like, what was your favorite vacation you've ever been on? Doing these things in the beginning just helps to create that connection that is so important, especially when people are not able to get together in person and they're in a virtual environment. The next thing you can do is create a virtual coffee or happy hour. Ask everyone to bring their favorite beverage, and at the end of the week, create some time where people can just engage socially. This is not a time for projects or tasks, but just a way to make sure that your team is getting together and supporting each other. Another thing you can do is to send a handwritten note to your employees or go online and search for employee gifts and have something directly sent to their home. This could be anything like a journal, a coffee mug, or even a box of chocolates. Being human and transparent during this time will allow you to deepen your connections with each employee and keep them engaged in their work. Leadership is a privilege and a responsibility. And leadership is action. It's not a hat you wear or a position you hold. It's the daily leadership efforts and consistent practices that will help your team feel acknowledged, appreciated, and focused during this time.